There you go.
Yeah. You know what? There's a lot of people looking up Eddie Van Halen and Van Halen in general. There's like this resurgence of
a renaissance.
Yeah. People, I think, miss Eddie Van Halen. You know, he left us soon, and his legacy. You know, and
I was really hoping while you were playing that Mr. Brummer was gonna, possess David Lee Roth and jump up and do the splits up in the air kind of thing, like Simon Dave had done on stage.
Oh yeah, exactly. And start singing in my best bar mitzvah voice. Yes,
yes, that's what I was hoping for. And that's what our audience was hoping for.
Oh, yeah. All -10.
Is Van Halen pretty popular at bar mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs?
It was during my era, yeah.
Really? Okay, what do they play? They play like jump or?
Yeah,
there's always that section of the reception where they like play the hard rock for the kids, you know.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yes. Here's something for the kids.
That's
yeah.
Right. And grandma sits down for a while and
That's right.
Yeah.
Takes a rest.
That's right. Waits for the next song.
That makes sense. Oh my gosh.
What's up, guys? Hey everyone, welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. We're just here for fun. Take our comments and invest at your own risk.
Yes.
Entirely not what we're doing is entirely not intended for that stuff.
We are not licensed financial advisors or whatever you're supposed to
do. That's right. We are not licensed.
Yes.
No, you know what? I realize that we have an audio podcast that Rob maintains, and we have this disclaimer up on top. I forget how it reads. It's pretty funny though. But yeah, we're just here screwing around people. So
exactly,
but seriously.
But please take it seriously, so you keep listening and thinking that we're relevant to tech industry. So
no, I didn't say that we weren't in that regard.
I want to start off. I want to kick things off. This will be kind of a somber note, but all right. So I was reading a post, Brian Solis, and he was posting something from the World Economic Forum at Davos, and it was an interview with Mustafa Suleyman, the guy who started DeepMind.
Oh yeah,
and you've been probably reading his book and everything. All right, it's kind of what you know, but it's interesting when they just come right out and say it related to AI. So I'll just read it word from word. Session from World Economic Forum in Davos. They said the quiet part out loud this time. AI is coming for your jobs. Interview with CNBC DeepMind co-founder Mustafa Suleyman was asked if AI was going to replace humans in the workplace. This was his answer. I think in the long term, over many decades, we have to think very hard about how we integrate these tools, because left completely to the market, these are fundamentally labor replacing tools. And he's right. Let's get that part out of the way. Left to their own devices, executives naturally gravitate towards what they know: automation and cost cutting to increase margins and profitability, to change their perspective, center insights on what drives KPIs. Anyway, you can imagine the rest of the deal. I know lots of people try to say, oh, no, it's going to help us, or it's going to whatever, this generative AI. But this is from one of the people who's co-created all this stuff. And it's kind of stuff we kind of know, and we kind of go when it's going to happen, or maybe it won't happen to me, or I don't know.
Right. But you know what? I
It's
really got to
somber.
look into this. Yeah, it is somber. But then I think there's some countervailing forces that are going to start to push back on a lot of those types of dynamics that AI might introduce into the job market. I think it's just the general trust in all things digital. I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed in banking, just as a consumer, the number of denied transactions of pretty low amounts, is increasing. I can't tell you how many times I have to call the bank now just to pay my wife or send her a transfer of money. I mean, it's out of this world. I don't know if you guys are experiencing as well, but in the past 2 years, and I would say a year and a half, the number of times that the bank has transitioned or what apparently is augmented their security procedures and protocols is kind of mind-boggling for me. I'm always get these notices, and I think I think these technologies are actually going to force us to go back into person, because we transact primarily between people. Yeah, sure. I just got off a Cisco analyst briefing. Sure, more machines are talking to each other, but how many are actually transacting with each other outside of, let's say, Wall Street, right? The majority of commercial transactions still happen between people and entities represented by people. But if you can't trust, the counterpart, maybe physical banks are going to become a thing, because they keep asking me to come into the branch.
Yeah, but Leonard, last week I had a deposit a customer's check into my Wells Fargo account last week, and the systems were down. It took 15 minutes for the teller to write 13 pieces of paper to verify my deposit. I wasn't even taking any money out of it. So, so it sounds good, but feels bad sometimes.
Well, there's a big dependency that people are taking on that. I think it's like, if you haven't read The Coming Wave, I would suggest reading it, because I think he actually ends the book with a number of really pretty good ideas that I think definitely will happen around, more. We talked about joking about licensing, but licensing, regulatory, auditing, transparency, things like that in the AI world, where currently it's caveat, basically everyone's kind of running as fast as they can. Even OpenAI is admitting that they're using copyrighted materials to, generate value for their offerings, which kind of makes no sense. So I think it's going to typically come to a head. There's got to be some sort of, it's not pure containment per se, but more just more guardrails around the use of the tech. And then I think to Rob's point, as he mentioned, the gravitational pull for companies is to either make money or cut costs. And if they can use AI to cut costs, hopefully they'll use it to make money too. I mean, that's just inevitable. And maybe that generates some other new jobs. Maybe that's wishful thinking. It depends on what the job is.
So what are all of you seeing on college campuses around a course or the education of college students in AI? Are they teaching them to be part of the industry and learn what are you guys seeing?
Well, I haven't seen anyone with a prompt engineering undergraduate degree yet program, but
right.
I think it's a mixed bag right now, right?
But that's an important point, because to some extent in the past, AI was still kind of reserved to the tech that could code Python and SQL. Now it's natural language. So it's open to more people. Now, obviously, you still have to build those models, but it is open to more people. So if we make it simple to get, a baseline model, open source, and then you feed it more text, and it gets a better model, anybody can do that. Mm-hmm. So that may create a counterbalance to this, only the tech world, because it can be used as a defense tool from the people whose job might, disappeared.
Well, I'm sure a lot of students are very used to generative AI at this point in terms of writing papers.
Exactly. For the wrong reasons.
But it's good. Exactly, but that's good. That's good, because
you're getting their hands on it.
I guess it depends on the grade level or where you are in your educational development process. I mean, I think what is ridiculous is when people say, "Hey, you can use ChatGPT to summarize books and increase your learning productivity," whatever the hell that means. The thing is that if you rob people of the opportunity to synthesize things, which is like how you develop critical thinking capabilities.
Sure.
What kind of people are we going to get graduating out of high school even?
Well,
forget about college. By that time, they're going to rely on tools. Okay, AI is a tool to do the important thinking.
Right. But Leonard, are you saying that we teach well how to do critical thinkings now without tech?
That's what really is. It sucks. Right now, we have a cut and paste culture, and I've seen it. As a partner principal with some of the leading, SIs and consulting firms. I've seen the quality of generations and how it's changed over time. And I'll tell you, the cut and paste culture, robs people of the ability to think.
Although I would say, like, there is
literally, I would get reports and drafts of analysis that were Google searched.
Yeah. But I think we had a predecessor of this, though, in when Google search became much more mature and capable. I know in my own kids' classes, there was a lot of focus on how to best use that and how to source your references and how to apply critical thinking skills with, search engines as a tool. And so I think schools are starting to sort of they've already been sort of figuring out how to integrate that into their curriculum. Hopefully they'll figure out the same way, like how would you use AI.
But that's only if a teacher actually understands what's going on, right? I mean,
sure.
If they're scared of it and don't understand it, they're no way going to judge a kid.
Sure. No, I agree. I mean, it's got to be a good teacher. It's got to be a school that cares. And, unfortunately, that's not always the case.
Well, I mean, it's like simple math. When you're teaching math to a child for the first time, do you give them a calculator?
I don't know. Do you?
I don't know.
Does that help them? Does that really help them understand how to do math, like division, multiplication?
Although back in the day, everyone said when calculators came out, they're like, "Oh, people are going to lose their brain cells because they won't be doing long division in their head anymore, or whatever." And
they kind of have.
There's a little bit.
They kind of have. I can't remember stuff because I have like a friggin' smartphone.
We did offload half our brains to our smartphone.
We become lazy. We succumb to convenience, and there's a consequence for that over time. And like my wife, she does that Sudoku stuff. Dude, she can do like crazy stuff with math in her head. I can't do that. I simply cannot do that. I have to go.
You can play Sudoku on your phone, and then you'll learn
my calculator. Where's my smartphone?
I go back to looking at my grandmother in her bakery in Elizabeth, New Jersey, who would fire high school kids if they weren't able to calculate in their head how much 3 rolls were, 4 cookies were, and a loaf of bread plus the tax in their head. No calculators anywhere in that bakery. And my grandmother would fire, "You dumb! I knew no English coming into Ellis Island. You gotta know math in your head." I can see my grandmother yelling at these girls.
Dude, I'm telling you. And they have these Russian math schools where they teach you how to do math. They don't give you a friggin' calculator.
Exactly.
And these kids end up, as they go through their, junior high and high school, just being able to do math in their head.
Yeah.
And if you ever wonder why everyone goes to Russia for mathematicians and scientists, is, well, number one, you have to be pretty good at math to be a really good scientist, and they know how to do math, but it's not with a calculator. It's like you actually understand math
logically,
right?
how it works. Yeah,
it's programmed into your brain.
We just carry the 2
to this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the opportunities moving forward for young people is that there'll be those folks that do like those kind of intellectual shortcuts, and other folks that can be more valuable to organizations because they can have that kind of critical thinking and logical thinking skills. And I guess parents need to be on the lookout to make sure their kids are educated to be productive. But inevitably, there is a gravitational pull toward shortcuts and copy and paste and stuff like that. And I think it's been there all the time. It's just the tech has gotten better and better at doing it.
It's got, and then it's starting to infringe upon or impact different new areas of our cognitive selves, as humans. And
I used a form of ChatGPT when I was in grade school. I used to read the back of the book jacket for the book report, and then I would give my book report based on whatever it said on the inside of the book jacket. I mean,
Well, considering that, Pete, you and I are the only one that actually understands what a Cliff Note is.
Cliff Notes was our ChatGPT.
Exactly.
Notes. Yeah. Lots of people use Cliff Notes for the report.
We turned out okay.
Sure.
Well, it's funny. I was talking to a CTO friend of mine, and he's teaching his teenage kids about chat and how to use it in a reasonable, responsible way. And he had to do a report for school, did the report using some chat stuff, brought it in. The teacher brought him into the principal's office for plagiarism. Called my buddy, the CTO, into school. They sat down, and he turned around to the teacher and said, "So how old are you?" And she goes, "I'm 52 years old." Goes, "So when you were in grade school, did you ever go to the library? Did you ever look at microfiche? Did you ever do any kind of research or anything else? Did you use that in your reports?" Well, you were plagiarizing back then too, if you want to look at it, from a equality standpoint.
Nah, it's different. As long as you were referencing, it's okay.
It's different.
It's
wrong.
I mean, I have to tell you, because of Cliff Notes, in many instances, which I used occasionally, I didn't use it all the time. I'm less well read, honestly. Because I missed the opportunity of actually reading through the entire book and then picking up on the nuances. So what happens is you don't retain
I agree.
that anything, quite honestly.
Right.
Virginia Woolf. Yeah, okay, I used the Cliff Notes for that because it sounds
you were afraid of her, damn it.
Book, right? And guess what? Know nothing about it. Don't remember anything. And that I don't know. That's impact.
Lots of kids also did. Lots of movies were made by these books, and so a lot of kids would just go watch them.
Although I read Beowulf cover to cover, and I still don't understand what was going on in there.
Adapted screenplays that are oftentimes only, maybe 20%.
That Beowulf thing, that's when they were trying to teach us Old English or whatever.
Yeah, that was tough.
English.
Canterbury Tales. I mean,
Yeah, Canterbury Tales, right. Exactly.
I read it, but I don't think it helped me.
Exactly.
Did you remember sports books if you were into that? Did you remember music books if you were into that? I mean, because your interest was high, then you read it and you remember.
Yeah.
But it is a good life lesson is you should always be reading a book. I always try to have one book in, every couple of weeks, read a book. It's not that hard. It's a good, instead of doom scrolling on your phone,
right?
Stop yourself, read 10, 20 pages of a book. You'll be happier about it.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a whole group of people saying when you get on Sunday, your screen time and what you spent on the last week, it should be lower than the week before.
That's interesting.
Words of wisdom there.
You guys are making me feel really bad.
Yeah. The rest of us are doom scrolling about AI taking over the planet and no jobs and all in poverty.
Yeah, well, you can just be, it's just going to be a competition for generating crap.
I'm going to go take a welding class.
Yeah. No, dude.
Well, you would make
go and cut hair, man.
You would make a lot of money in France for that because we stop investing in nuclear reactors and powers, and we can't find the welders anymore because it requires very specific welding skills, which are gone apparently.
Right.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. I had Ian Cuttress on my my podcast for Next Curve, and he made an interesting statement. actually the data centers in the world are maxed out. The big challenge now for generative AI is how do you get these massive AI HPC systems power efficient enough so that you can squeeze them in, because we're already constrained, we're already resource constrained, and so eventually this stuff is just simply going to hit a wall. And
one of the questions I wanted you to ask him was, what if we got rid of the 80% of the data that's in the data centers that are useless pieces of information?
Yep. I had that conversation at, I went to Silver Linings. There was a gentleman, I forgot, he's going to kill me. See, this is the problem. This is a good thing. By the way, I have a flip phone now.
You're over.
I got the Motorola Razr Plus. It's pretty cool. Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got to get the one that bends back.
So really nice phone. But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, there's so much redundant shit all over the place. Think about CDN. There's duplicate copies of everything everywhere.
Right. I think there'll be tools. I know a guy has a company out in New York that does some kind of like container dehydration technology. So they sort of can take your cloud instance and save you like 20-30% on your cloud bills, because they'll analyze what you're using and what you don't need, and they'll sort of dehydrate it a little bit. So I think you're going to see a lot more people. You're going to see allocation and pricing differences on workloads pretty extreme. I know that some of the hyperscalers I've heard are already rationing AI workloads, and so you're going to see pricing in there. You're going to see, I think, people finding spare racks in strange places and moving workloads there. So you're going to see more virtualization of smaller edge data centers to complement the hyperscalers, just because there isn't the space and the power. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a great opportunity for folks to build the kind of tools for orchestration, automation, dehydration, all kinds of cool stuff to make it work. Because you're right, there isn't enough.
As we go back to on-prem, Pete, we're going to go back to on-prem.
There aren't enough racks in the world and enough electrons basically at this point to run all the workloads we need. So
are we going to get in BYOR? Bring your own rack.
Yeah,
BYOR.
Bring your own rack and plug it in.
There you go. I did see someone talking about having a online or whatever session on repatriation from the cloud or something like that back to on-prem. That's some big thing.
I was talking to a neighbor who does digital transformation, and we talked about it yesterday, actually, the idea that there are clients of his, CTOs, that are sitting there going, you know what, why don't we just put a small rack in each one of our offices and just do it out of that?
Yeah, but they're not doing that for everything. They're just, one of the big drivers of this is FinOps, right? People actually now have good visibility to how much they're spending in the cloud for certain workloads, and then being able to compare that with how much would it cost for us to run this thing in-house, right? And so CIOs are using that.
But the FinOps, my understanding is FinOps transactions, at least the serious FinOps transactions, require high security, low latency. They run on IBM, mainframes, with IBM chips, and like the traders and stuff like that, like really high performance.
That's not what I'm talking about.
I'm talking about like
financial ops for your cloud. It's like all the tools that help you. Accounting, it originates from CMP or cloud management platform, but there's this whole cloud cost and performance visibility thing that was actually at NextCurve. I tried to promote a lot of this stuff at the very beginning. It's just that people didn't know about it. Now, like companies, like a lot of the ITSM companies like ServiceNow and et cetera, it's becoming mainstream, right? And so when you look at managing a multi-cloud, portfolio, now you have tools to basically compare, the economics of placing workloads and maintaining and running,
it's like arbitrage,
with different cloud partners, but also in-house. So, hybrid cloud is a thing. You have a fabric. So now you can make those assessments whether or not you do it in a private cloud, on-prem, or in the public cloud, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, how else you got to negotiate with AWS, on your monthly bill.
Well, that was the whole idea. It's a cloud brokerage and
cloud brokerage, arbitrage. One of the things I know hyperscalers are doing right now is they're buying out all of these Bitcoin mining operations that they can find, so that they can reuse those racks and that power for their AI workloads. So maybe if you invested heavily in a Bitcoin farm out in Eastern Washington or whatever, you're going to be in the money, because that's going to turn into an Azure data center pretty quickly.
Yeah, a lot of them are ASICs though. They're
behind the barn. That shed behind the barn is now going to be Azure.
So I have an apple orchard and I have a barn with racks in them. Is that what I have?
There you go.
That's right.
So we're seeing the AI.
There's IoT going out on the eastern end of Washington.
So the AI PC is going to be an AI rack in your barn. We found the use case for the AI PC finally. It's a rack.
I love
it. Not a PC, it's a rack. Maybe you should launch that, the AI rack, the IoT coffee shop, Coffee Talk AI rack.
I love the AI rack. That's good.
And we're bringing more and more products to market right here.
We really are.
Our
ideas begin here.
So, exactly. So, folks, if you're a marketer,
well, we
ideas.
We only need the idea and the critical thinking, and AI will do the rest. So, it's the new model.
What's incredible is we do these rants without alcohol
in the morning.
Isn't that amazing?
Maybe we should try with.
That would be really.
I think you're right. I think you're right. We might need to try that.
We do need to do a live version in a pub someplace and see where the conversation goes.
Or we do an IoT happy hour with one selection by Rob. That would be good.
Live stream it. Very good.
Wine tasting. Yeah.
So, who's going to MWC? One person.
One person? That's amazing.
I'm on the fence.
Yeah, I'd go, but my oldest son their wedding is literally the day before.
Oh, really? Congratulations, man.
Yeah. So I can't make it, but I think about, obviously IoT stars and all the stuff. Because I've been having people reaching out to me asking about IoT stars and when are we getting together in Barcelona? And I'm like,
me too.
Not going to make it.
We got a national basketball tournament.
I'm going to miss you, dude. You're
this will be my first time to miss in a long time.
Yeah, you're my. I mean, I rarely ever say this, but you're my partner in crime, dude.
I'm going to start crying.
I'm verklempt.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm surprised that. So, Steve, you're not going.
No, first time in forever. Also.
Yeah. See,
no 3 GSM for us.
Yeah. Right.
Well, this should be a really, really interesting year, just because it's so friggin' brutal. If you saw like the Ericsson results,
bad.
That was brutal. And then everyone's anchoring their hopes on TechCo and what's this other thing?
Talk about IoT stars, and he pops up. What the hell's that?
Yeah,
he just said the words IoT stars, and Marc appears.
Unbelievable. We are unbelievable. What a team.
I love it.
Marc's going, what the hell are you guys talking about?
I don't think he can hear us.
It's not connected yet, maybe.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You have to use sign language to communicate with them.
Marc, what we're saying is literally we brought up IoT stars literally a minute ago for the first time you pop up.
Oh yeah? What did you say about IoT stars? Good or bad?
Good. We were talking about it. I was saying I've had different friends reaching out. Hey, am I going to see you in MWC? Tell me about IoT stars. And I was just saying I'm not going to be able to go because my oldest son's getting married. We have a wedding so I can't go. But I've been telling people, make sure you go to IoT stars. That's where it's at. Is there any?
That's party time on IoT Stars every Monday.
What?
Yeah, I didn't hear.
Your
That's sad.
audio, your audio
is cutting a little bit more.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
No?
Much better.
So what I said is that Mackenzie organizes an event on Monday, same time than IoT Stars.
Oh, really?
You'll generate more people than them.
Yeah.
No one wants to listen to their crap.
I don't know what they're going to say that we haven't already said like 3 years ago.
Right.
I mean, honestly, seriously.
Yeah.
And you know, they're going to be saying stuff that we are telling people not to believe.
Don't do it
For the next 3 years. So I really don't know. I mean, you know, for the whole generative AI forecast, you know, BCG with their I mean, I'm starting to see that these numbers show up in these promotional, you know, prompt engineering promotions. You know, it's like, did you read the report? Did you critically think through how they came up with this stuff? Do you know what these words mean? It's, you know, the early studies on the impact of generative AI on productivity are so poorly done. It's not even funny, yet they're getting headlines. You know, but then this is the nonsense that's going to create the crash.
Yeah.
Right. It's, and so, you know, if you want to make money in generative AI, the money is in getting paid to shill this nonsense. I mean, there's going to be great money in it, but where's the productivity?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, but I think what we'll see, the only time we'll really get productivity data back is after people really use some of this stuff for an extended period of time in their enterprise and can really show some data. And that's going to take time. You can't forecast that. You need to you just need to collect it and analyze it and then look at it. And I think this forecasting stuff is going to be nuts.
And imagine how hard that is. Because keep in mind, I used to work for the SIs and the consulting firms. The retrospectives, almost no one ever does. When you come up with these decks that say, hey, we had X, Y, you know, they have a huge challenge attributing benefit. And it also behooves the client, all right, the customer company to say something good, that their project
to justify their purchase because they already sunk the money in. So it's like, well, let me show you how smart I am by making this deal. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. I'm sure Microsoft will tout their Copilot stats and have a bunch of case studies of companies that went from 100 employees and they could lay off half their employees and be twice as productive with Copilot.
Not even, dude, I made that thing hallucinate so bad at CES. It's not even a joke. I mean, you know, hey, you can have it do book your airline tickets. It's like, well, you know, get you a ticket that doesn't exist. You know, I mean,
but you don't know
that's what it was doing in front of product people. That went, holy crap! That's
I think the mystique comes from what I said earlier. Is that it's a very crazy technology because it's actually not technology; it's language. So people it's this black box you talk to and you get something out. So people don't understand how the black box works and they will never. But because it's language, you know, before again, it was Python, it was SQL, it was C#, it was HAL, it was R, whatever crap, freaking statistical language. Now it's, I talk to it, I write to it, it replies to me. So people are going to imagine whatever they want about it.
That's not really deterministic.
There. So,
I don't know. I mean, I think it is a technology. It is. I mean, it's taking
but it's the accessibility
to do something.
Yeah, but it's the accessibility of the technology. Before, if I'm a random person, say, I need to go to all these language and containers and cloud and edge and all this crap, all techies. That, by the way, that's why I pay $400K per year. A guy do it for me. Now I can
just. On the back end, there's all of that there as well, right? I mean, all of that, it kind of sits on the back end, and it still has to do that. It still has to draw from some level of microservices. It still has to have some level of data access and everything. So I mean, I think separating bullshit from the tech is
Yes.
No, it's true. I'm not saying this is wrong, but the other difference that we've come with 20 years as a service. So you don't need to build the stuff. The stuff is on shelf. Yeah, and there's also this impression that you take the stuff on shelf, you put more data, and it gets better, which is very little technical. No, I'm not saying it is. It is the perception.
That's why people are going toward expert systems, expert models. They get diluted. And then they become useless. The thing is, you're absolutely right, dude. And we've been saying on IoT Coffee Talk forever. Maybe we keep saying it until it sinks into people's heads. We're not criticizing the technology. Technology is what it is. But we criticize the hype because the hype does damage. I mean, you want damage. I mean, look at where all of the Western where all of the Western mobile wireless tech companies are today. They're under the threat of disappearing. And Huawei, who ditched all of the 5G bullshit narrative for about 3 years ago. People don't know this, right? That's why you have to be there. You don't rely on some stupid chatbot. They ditched this stuff 3 years ago, and they're killing it. And then everyone else is on life support is because they were drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right.
And they were making stupid bets. And you can't tell me that the hype doesn't cause a lot of problems. It doesn't. It, in fact, destroys investor value, and it doesn't uplift productivity at all. I mean,
they call it Kool-Aid for a reason, I mean,
yeah.
Not because it's a nutritious and satisfying drink,
Oh, yeah. But there's a lot of people hooked on that stuff, right?
Only in certain camps.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think it's like we were kind of going into what's happening for MWC and telco and Ericsson results and stuff. I think there's a lot of this
Nokia.
What I call it saving telco from itself is one of the tenets of saving telco from itself is dialing down the Futurama, dialing down the getting much more practical and tangible about solving business problems and stop selling the future 10, 20 years from now and start solving the problems of today. And telcos that do that, that are solution mindset that are doing that are going to thrive. And
why has Open RAN gone nowhere? None of the vendors are doing well. I mean, why?
Yeah.
Well, because at the end of the day, transport is transport. You're at the lower level of the stack. I mean, you're moving bits. That's what you do. You're the plumbing. Not saying that plumbing's not important, but damn it, you're not the reason why.
Yeah, and you might be a dumb pipe, but I want a great pipe. So focus on that. Give me the greatest pipe.
Yeah, being a great pipe, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, before trying to sell me IoT and security services and MDM and all these things which I've been trying for years. And
I think some telcos have a solution mindset and have a P&L around that, and they can do a good job on it. And then other folks, have a focus on the pipe, and I think you need to kind of choose your lane, like which one you want to be.
When they bring in their solutions to a lot of corporations, a lot of times they only want them to buy the pipe that they provide.
Right.
And a lot of people won't buy that. I mean, Marc knows this from a Telefonica scenario. They've tried, for the last 10 years to deliver services in a variety of different ways around IoT and have failed miserably because of that, focus. No, I'm going to give you great solutions, but it's only going to be on my pipe so I can double dip.
No, that's not, and so that's where senior leadership needs to pick a lane and say, either we're committed to a P&L that works or we're going to be a great pipe. Yeah. But doing it kind of halfway is not going to work.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's because they're trying to climb up the stack. They're trying to climb the ladder. And say,
trying to go up the stack, get more margin.
Value to that pipe that we got out there. Right. And to your point, stay in your lane. No. Yeah. Identify your lane and be the best in your lane.
Yeah, I'd like to see you go to AT&T and get a solution from them and say, hey, I want a multi-IMSI SIM that works on T-Mobile and Verizon at the same time.
Yeah. Hey, don't give pipes a hard time. This is what I tell my son, is if it wasn't for pipes, your turd will never make it to the ocean. Okay?
Well, I don't think we're arguing about
that. I had to tell him that because, we're trying to potty train him. He wanted to poop in his diaper all the time. So, that's how I say, hey, if it wasn't for pipes.
There you go.
Because he was asking, where does this go?
Series of tubes.
There. And I say, it's the pipes, baby.
Yeah, and I
Bill,
don't.
you try to throttle back on that. Yeah, man.
Hey, IoT Coffee Talk has now taken a full 180 degrees.
Dude, you come on, guys. Your kids, they told you some of the wisest things that you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Especially in our older age. I mean, that was you at some point. We just get dumber with age, apparently. So, and
more than analysts, or similar level analysts.
You're right.
No comment.
But I mean, Steve, you mentioned something that's interesting, right? Try to go to AT&T and ask them for, a multi-carrier SIM, right? That's going to do. I mean, if you look at what the standards are doing across the board on that, right? So the whole, soft SIM and being able to switch carriers and all of that stuff. I mean, it was one of those things. You either embrace it and become part of the of the pool, or you will get ran the F over.
Yeah, and that's why so many of these MVNOs and multi-MZ SIM third-party Monagatos of the world and iBasis and all these guys are doing so well because they don't give you that problem.
Well, they're over there living in the gap of the ugly.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Teal.
Look at. I mean, I'll encourage anyone that's on the telco side to kind of. I mean, one of my clients is going through this, so I kind of had to steer them in the right direction. SGP 32 and SGP 41 literally talk about the functionality and the reality of the soft SIM and what is going to happen. Yep. It is going to happen. So you either jump on board or get ran the hell over.
Well, you got to figure out how to use it with what you're selling. Correct.
Right. Yes.
Also, the issue is telcos' business models tend to be around subscriber ads. That's still their metric for success.
Yeah, you're right.
In subscriber ad world, it's like, my solution or nothing, or, and that just doesn't work for, I know, like, for example, Telstra, who's very successful, like a solution provider, about half of their solutions are Wi-Fi only.
That's right.
That doesn't even use the Telstra network. So they're just solving problems. And they're a standalone P&L, and they do a really good job of it. But you have to embrace a solution mindset and solve the customer problem, and not just do subscriber ads. Yep. And that's hard for telcos to do. That's a cultural shift.
They need thought leadership to change that mindset. So
you need executive leadership to change the mindset.
But you almost need to change executive leadership because a lot of them have been in the game so long. And telcos, it's an ARPU-based business. Not going to change. I don't care what it is that they say. I don't care if they partner up with Hulu or Netflix or anything like that. That's not your service. They're delivering that service across your pipe. Right. So, at the end of the day, stay in your lane and be the best in your lane.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true.
Lead some of this diversification as opposed to trying to dig your heels in and then get your legs pulled off from under you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so true. Just have to be true to yourself. That's why a lot of this whole techco stuff it's just a distraction. Actually, a really bad, detrimental distraction for operators, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to invest in becoming whatever the hell this techco thing. I saw this analyst firm publish some nonsense about that stuff. I was just like, wow, this is like, number one, have you ever really have you ever worked in the field, or are you just like regurgitating academic BS? Right. You read the stuff and the prevailing talk about techco, and it's just so.
Usually, the folks pushing techco are the folks selling something that a techco needs, and so you always have to.
Calibrate that a little but it's not healthy for the. It's not healthy for the operators, right? Who really need to invest in the network, evolve that, and then enhance their competitiveness, right? Mm-hmm.
So the
other stuff is just a distraction.
So Leonard, does a Fortune 500 company buy AI and integrated solutions from a telco, from an operator?
No.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Yep,
no.
Never.
I mean, somebody said MWC is going to be a cloud AI conference. It's like, unfortunately, it might be, but that's not what it should be.
Agreed.
And anybody that's going in selling cloud and AI, unless it's something that's going to enhance the actual business of telecommunications,
moving packets around,
we're figuring worthless.
But this is my thing. I mean, if you're again, cloud and AI are a moot point unless you have that beautiful pipe.
Gotta have the pipe.
Flush the pipe. Flush the pipe.
Yeah.
History repeats itself. I mean, I remember when I was at Good Technology, there was the same thing. All these network operators trying to sell mobile solution. And our Wall Street customers, Bank of America, was telling us, please stop saying through them. We don't want to talk to them for our mobile app. We want to talk to you. We'll manage the pipe. So then they tried with IoT. So they tried with the cloud. Now they're trying with AI.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Marc,
on the edge.
Yeah, and the edge. Actually, on the edge, I would have thought that they might have actually a play because they are distributed by nature. So you could do something because you really have an advantage there. But yeah, it's.
But instead, they're naughty by nature.
Yeah, but no, seriously, it gets totally ignored, Bill. You're right. The interconnect, the connectivity is just, I'm serious.
Fundamental.
It boils down to get the doo-doo to the ocean, connect point A to B.
Move that shit.
Yeah, there you go. See, again, it's about.
We are back to Leonard points.
Doo-doo to the ocean.
Move that shit.
I'm going to use that in a public conference one of these days, and they're going to say, "Well, what do you think is the most important thing? Going into 2025, it's like doo-doo and getting that doo-doo to the ocean. That's all that counts." Because nobody talks about it. Interconnect, even in a data center, people just like talk about the GPUs. If you can't connect these nodes together, you cannot scale this AI HPC compute.
And doing that in an open way. I mean, look, telcos, this one's for free. Get by the standards and stop saying that you're actually executing on them, and stop building proprietary wrappers around these things. Leverage those damn standards for what they should be used for. Use IPSO standards. OMA. Damn it. I mean, can we line ourselves on how to do firmware updates across the board? You do those things and deliver them as a service through your pipe.
Implementation, yeah. It's not about the technology. And then that's why none of these companies, they shouldn't try to become technology companies because they can't scale it. Right?
Well, and also to be a tech company, you need to be great at software and embrace software. And telcos, not really. Software's not their bag. They don't hire for software.
It's not my bag, baby.
Yeah,
not your bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you mean that if you want an expert in hardware and software, you don't go to Cisco?
No, I wouldn't.
That's what G tried.
I wouldn't advise that at all.
That's what we tried at G to build G Digital. So.
Yeah, that's great.
No, I'm totally with you. Software is a mystery for them. But it's with this whole AI thing. I mean, we're back to gold rush. Who's going to make money? The people that send the ships.
Solve the problems. The money.
The people that move the bits, not the people that find the gold. So the people that were selling shovels and equipment who made the money. So
how would you reorganize Ericsson? Like, they're upstream of the telcos. They're a kit maker. And their CEO, Boyer, has been sounding the alarm now since I was there about Europe is not moving fast enough to go to 5G. And it's like, well, yeah, but what he's really worried about is there's not enough people buying their kit to keep them in business. Yeah. And so all of a sudden, 5G is stalled, and Ericsson is suffering greatly, and they're chasing Nokia down the toilet bowl drain, down the pipe. And it's just happening. And then they did that crazy acquisition of Vonage and blew $6 billion of cash they had laying around for what? Yeah. Who knows? Right.
Although Cradlepoint, I think that was a good buy.
Cradlepoint was a good buy.
Yeah, that was a good buy.
That was an example of where Ericsson's in a great position in terms of brand, and no one gets fired for buying Ericsson, and so they need to leverage that to help telcos kind of get to the next step. Like Bill was saying, get to a highly optimized pipe and all these other things. I don't know in terms of the product offering, but getting more solution oriented for telcos, like with Cradlepoint and things like that. I think being very careful about how they do that, but they're in a great kind of pole position in terms of brand. And like you look at the Affirmed and the Meta switches and all these other folks over the years that have tried to get into that business. I mean, Nokia and Ericsson are tight in that business, so they need to somehow figure out how to leverage their strength.
It's a weird deal because they're in the pole position, and yet they're trying both become penny stocks as fast as they can.
And I have a client that chose HPE's core product against Nokia and Ericsson on purpose, and having dealt with them and seeing how they're building their core offering, it's interesting. Right. It's a little bit more.
That acquisition of Juniper is a big deal. Everyone's been emphasizing the enterprise side of stuff, but you know what? All the companies have been pivoting enterprise. Just because if the CEO was talking about telco, they wouldn't be able to get the price that they got, right? So it's really naive for people to think that this was just entirely an enterprise thing. I provided a quote about this on Silver Linings. On the telco end of things, man, it puts HPE in a really good place.
Agreed.
And that was largely ignored by analysts because they were so fixated on the CEO's talking points. And it's like, dude, there's so many companies that the messaging pivots as soon as something becomes slightly unpopular. But you have to think long term, and you gotta think about these Western tech companies have to start thinking about how they're going to compete with Huawei, because Ericsson lost a lot of the late cycle, stuff, right? OSS, BSS, very light on it. There's a lot of competition in that space, but digital transformation or modernization of the 5G modernization is what has to happen now. And that's what greases the wheel. You don't just sit there and talk about the advanced stuff, hoping that eventually it's going to matter. It'll matter in 10 years, but you'll be dead by then. And that's
for everything other than video content and digital content.
Anyways, you know what? It all goes to, when you follow the hype cycle, you lose, especially the big guys.
Hey, folks, I apologize. I need to jump for a 9:30. So
yeah, right, I got to jump too. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on IoT Coffee Talk. Always love having you guys watch our stuff and not comment or like or and all that stuff, which we hope you would do. Please support us because we're going to do this regardless. We're going to consume as much of Google's YouTube server capacity and,
pipes.
And we're going to clog their pipes.
Flush.
Until you flush that toilet.
And will be recommended by AI.
Yeah. And remember, we sponsor Elevate Our Kids. Please make a donation to help bridge the digital equity divide at www.elevateourkids.org. And you know what? We will see you next week for another exciting episode of IoT Coffee Talk. Cheers.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.